Good evening, welcome to our program. My very special guest tonight is a Scotsman, or he was. He's become Australia's highest profile rocker probably ever. Yeah, I guess ever. Jimmy Barnes has weathered a career of highs, lows for about 30 years, but there are now, so the good word is, definite signs that he's starting to mellow. So I thought I should talk to him.
I don't believe that, I'm sorry.
I thought I should talk to him before he did. Get out of here before we talk to Jimmy Barnes. Let's have a look at him, at something from his latest album. And I think you will see what I mean. The album is terrific. It's called Love and Fear. Jimmy, welcome.
Nice to see you, mate.
Good to see
you. How you going? I've seen you in the restaurants a few times. I've been dying to come up and say hello, and I had to say it last time I seen you.
Well, when I saw you the other day in the restaurant, I kept looking. I knew it was you.
So who's that good-looking bloke over there?
Something like that. And then I saw you playing with this baby.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
And I said to my wife, I just saw Jimmy Barnes.
The baby with the ears.
And he's playing with a baby.
Yeah.
And then you came and said, hey, yeah, the baby with the ears. Who's the baby?
It was a good friend of mine. The baby's called Cooper. And it was this, I've got these suits that I buy from the shop that I love, and they're like some striped suits and have ears on the baby.
Yeah.
So there's a certain age, babies look fantastic, you know. So I give them all my mates. Yeah,
And then I said, it can't be Jimmy Barnes playing with a baby. Jimmy Barnes does not play with babies, usually.
Not in public.
No. So that made me think that maybe there's some truth in the mellowing story.
Listen, I mellowed I've always been mellow. I'm just sort of full on at the same time. I have 5 babies, you know. I have 5 babies. I got, you know, babies love me till they get to about sort of, 15. And then that's it, it's gone then.
So is this, I need an admission here. Are you mellowing?
Yes.
Okay. Did you think it was necessary?
No, it's just happening.
Why?
I think it's wearing out. No, you know, I don't think I've never changed my sort of intensity or my passion or or whatever. But I just think, like certain things now. There's certain things now that 5 years ago I might have sort of leapt up and sort of screamed and hit people about, which nowadays I'd go, it's not that important, So yeah, I've mellowed. You know what I mean? I guess like that,
Yeah, I do.
Especially when you keep you're in a business for so long, as you would know, music business. It's not that you take anything for granted, or you take liberties or anything. It's just that you know that certain things happen, and you just go, why fight this any longer? But I must tell you a story, which is a true story. I was playing with on the Colchester Reformation. Which was a great thing. The best way to break up a band is a reformation. We got the band, we've done this tour. On the very last show we did in Tasmania, the whole nature of Colchester, which I'd never worked out until this point, why everybody likes it and why it was so volatile and great, was this tension within the band. It was just the way the band fought internally. It was always about to combust. It was always about to explode. And a lot of that came from myself being sort of edgy and pushy and racing things, and the band trying to hold back, particularly the drummer, Steve. And for this whole Reformation tour, I'd been fighting Steve. I've been pushing and working twice as hard to try and keep the band pushing. The very last gig, about halfway through the show, I was doing the same things, fighting with Steve, and I thought to myself, I'm sick of this. Bugger it. And I laid back, and I just said, go with the flow. Go, let it go with the flow. I laid back. Suddenly, I had twice as much power. And I had, an extra octave on my voice. And I learned something that took only 27 years to do it. But I learned by kicking back, going with the flow. And I sort of got inside and infiltrated and changed things from there. I had twice the power that I had before. So, after 27 years, if I'm laying back, it's only for sort of ulterior motives.
Is there always an ulterior motive?
Yeah, and it's always to, hopefully to do it better. I don't have any devious ulterior motives. Yeah.
Well, you talk about being passionate. I imagine you're passionate about nearly anything, aren't you? If you get involved.
Yeah, well, if I do things, I like to do things and do it with conviction. I like, I've always said, if you want to do like, if you want to be a presenter, if you want to be in music, if you want to be a mechanic, you have to, whatever you choose to do, make sure it's something you love, and you want to do it with, commitment. I go and see, rock and roll bands who are sort of, half-assed and, who really, haven't got, not willing to throw their heart and soul out on the line, and it bores me, And I see it, and I go, I can go see a band that sounds like in the street, they've got no gear, they sound bad, but you can see the commitment, and it's attractive. The same happens with films, same happens with like butchers, anything. Whatever you do, you have to do with passion.
Tell me about Love and Fear. Why'd you call it that?
It's the album, I guess, I'm 43 now, and I've, obviously, learned a lot over the years and forgotten a lot and not learned a lot. But, I'm at the point in my life where I'm sort of valuing it a lot. It's whether people say midlife crisis, whatever it is. I'm still going through puberty. I started midlife crisis at 14 and hasn't stopped yet. So it's all the fears and hopes and dreams and everything that I have within my life, which is mostly based around my wife and my family. And Jane and I have been married 19 years, and it's it's really, we've been the ideal couple. We've done all the right things. A few years ago, we decided to be more. We wanted to be closer than that, and wanted to be there's not many people in the world you can be completely honest or completely frank and be, like I've told Jane in the last 2 years of, everything I've ever thought, did, acted out, anything, everything I've ever done, and it was really difficult because I had to, I had to tell her things that would hurt her as well as hurt me. I had to tell her things I hadn't told my mother. I told her all this sort of stuff, and it was because I wanted to be her best mate. We've been together 20 years. We've done, we're as close as we could be without being really honest, and it was a hard thing, and so Love and Fear is basically about, it's my coming out, becoming an honest person.
Are you still frightened that you might lose a love?
Yeah, of course.
Even now?
Oh, I think to be honest with anybody about anything is a very serious thing, and
it can be very difficult.
Very difficult, and listen, for me, I live with me, and look what it's done to me. I'm confused, I'm crazy. So, to put this onto someone else and try and deal with this as well is like, oh my God. So, I've spoken to, Jane and I, regardless of, if Jane and I were to break up tonight, if we were, if we last forever, regardless, I feel incredible that the fact that I've had the opportunity, that I've found someone who was special enough to actually demand that of me and make that, that ultimate, so this is character building, Jim, the ultimate one. And it was, it's a special thing.
Why now did you choose to tell her everything?
Because we're going to live the rest of our lives together. We'll be at the 20 years, and we do love each other a lot. And all the things that everybody sort of talks about, superficial love. We care. We're sympathetic for each other. We look out for each other. But there's things that things that you might tell your best mate that you wouldn't tell your wife. There's things that you might tell a stranger that you might not tell your wife. And this started. There's a friend of mine who he decided to teach me how to jog, and he was jogging next to me.
Yeah, I heard about the jogging.
So he's jogging next to me, and I'm like, I've just met him. I knew his wife; she's very nice, and he's a nice guy. And I'm jogging, and he's telling me how to do it all long distance. And then he says to me, would you like to be my best friend? So I immediately sped up to a sprint. And by the time he caught me, he was panting. But it was one of those. It was just a simple question, and he said, repeated it again at home. And it made, a best friend is someone that you can tell anything to. There's not many people in the world you can do that with. And if you love someone, you have to be honest. Love is about honesty. Love is about, it's that, it's I know it's idealistic and all that stuff. Love is about, being forgiving, about sacrifice, about as more giving than it is taking, probably, but at the same time you receive everything because that's what you want to do. And it's really difficult for me, especially in the lifestyle I've lived. God knows, like the things I told Jane would probably, sort of, I think I'm so blessed, to have Jane there. Just the fact that there's things I've done I'm proud of, there's things I've done that I'm ashamed of, the things that I've done that I don't even believe I did them, But to be able to say everything to Jane, all my fears and all that, and still have her as a friend.
Are you surprised you've still got her as a friend? having...
Yeah, I'm very surprised. I think, once again, I think it's because our relationship demanded that. You know, we'd always been so much to each other, and it was the next phase, and it demanded that. And I am willing to risk, you know, losing my relationship to be honest and be straight up with someone and have the opportunity to glimpse, you know, unconditional love. You know, just to even see it is like a rare thing, I think. And to see someone try to offer it to you.
What was the worst time you went through?
What, in life or...
With Jane.
With Jane? What time is it? No, it's... I think what happened... The initial... When Jane came to me and said, we have to be best friends, and said this to me, again, reiterate what this friend had said, and I thought about it, and probably the 12 hours from where Jane came to me and said, you know, I have this terrible, you know, thing to tell you, you know, I looked at someone, you know, 500 years ago, whatever it was, you know, and it freaked me out, and I lost it. And the reason I lost it wasn't because like Jane had done anything horrible, but the reason I'd done it because Jane had told me something she thought was really horrible, and she, you know, built up the courage to tell me this, and I had to equal her courage or walk away. I'd stand there and think, I can talk to you now, Jane, or I can get up and lie and let this thing, you know. And I had to get up and say things I wasn't proud of. And so that was the decision between that point and actually saying it was like, I was going crazy. And actually, unfortunately, I had to record a song. I was recording for Cold Chisel at the time, and the song that day I had to record was a thing called The Things I Love in You. And every time I hear the song now, it makes me feel ill. And it's, I mean, not because it was so passionate. The song is about a guy whose lover leaves him in it, and he's standing outside the window while she's making love to some other guy. You know, so it was, I literally, this is what I went through. It was like, it was symbolic, and it was a really, really serious time. And, you know, but the worst part was thinking, you know, like, you must, all that, you know, Valvoline you've drank, you must have had some dark secrets as well, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
People do, and to people, you know, to actually think, God, for me to be a straight and honest and caring person, I have to tell people this.
But that's a very brave thing to do, because, I mean, you could have gone for the rest of your life with never letting on, couldn't you?
Yeah, could have got arrested. But, you know, I figured that after 20 years, and I really love Jane, and, you know, regardless of anything, you know, nothing can ever take away that. And I figured that because, you know, she's the mother of my children, she'd opened up this opportunity, she'd thrown this opportunity in front of me, which most people never get. The least I could do was, you know, be brave enough to take the challenge. And, you know, whether it works or not, we'll see. But it's a great thing. Love and fear is about that, to answer your question.
It's a good answer. Will do. What's been the best time?
The same thing, almost the same thing. It's the fact that, you know.
So it's a sort of a release.
It is. It's you know, the honesty is you know, can set you free or it can kill you. You know, depending on how you present it and how you offer it. You know, like for me, if I'd have been honest, going, this is this would, you know, but I did it. You know, being fully aware that it was a big chance I could lose a lot, and it was worth it to me because she'd been my best friend, and it was not even worth it. It was what was demanded of me. Yeah?
Okay, we'll have a little break here, and I'll come back after the break and talk some more with Jimmy Barnes. Hope you can stay with us. Thank you very much for staying with us. My guest is Jimmy Barnes. How many records have you sold?
I don't know, personally, or with Cold Chisel as well.
Well,
probably
I think
all up, probably, I don't know.
I think 6 million here.
Yeah,
in Australia.
I think it's probably about 8 or something all up. You know, with best ofs and stuff. It's a lot of records, but it's good. Yeah. Of course, when I go overseas, I exaggerate that. Oh yes, I sold 50 million. Yes.
How could you sell all those records and then run into financial trouble? Bet you ask yourself.
Easily. I'm a complete idiot. No, you know, I came from a background where, and I'm not using this as an excuse, where we didn't have a lot. You know, it was hard. You know, we battled to get by, and I've said it in the past. If I was really good at running finances, I'd be running for, you know, Prime Minister. You know, I blew it. You know, I used to. I had
but I mean, you must have
I had
been.
7 cars. You know, I had Ferraris and all that stuff, and I can't drive. I'm useless. You know, I'm a terrible driver. You know, and all my mates were driving around Barrow in the best cars in town. You know, and I'm sort of sitting there, you know, like, God, I've got an automatic. You know, something. So, you know, just
I mean,
stupidity. But it was. But you know what? It was all important. It was all. Everything I did has led me to here. To this moment. Everything I did has led me to where I am, and all the mistakes I made was something I had to do just to make it, you know, to learn.
But how did you lose the money? I mean, how can you have all
listen,
that?
it's not that difficult, you know. I mean, you know, like,
I don't want lessons. I'm just interested.
I'm sure you give me a couple. Come on. No, it was one of those things where it was just, you know, I had no. And I use the word, it's, you know, it's still present. I have no self-control. You know, if anybody wants it, I'll buy it. If anybody, you know, if I see it and I want, I'll buy it. Oh, yeah, give me 3 of them. Thank you very much. But I have no idea. It's not that I sort of hoard possessions. It was just because I never had them, and it's something I've never taught my. You know, I left. You know, I lived in this, you know, area where I had nothing, and suddenly I joined a band when I was 16 and had access to anything I want. And I never learned any self-control, which is all part of the same thing what we're talking about before.
Yeah,
you know, it's all part about, you know, I'm pretty reckless, but you know, I mean, at the same time, I didn't sort of, you know, it wasn't like I had sort of, you know, limousines with sort of security guards everywhere beating people off. You know, I had a good time. We shared it round. We had a good time. I'm telling you. If you'd been in Barrow around there, there was some major parties. You know, and the same, you know.
When you sold out,
yeah,
here, why did you go to the south of France?
That's no idea. You know, I'd been working in Europe prior to that whole sort of implosion, I guess. I'd been working in Europe. I'd been to Europe 9 times in 5 months or something, away from the family. So I'd said, look, if this is all sort of banks and tax, it's all happening around me, and I'm sort of panicking. And at the same time, I thought, well, you know, if I'm going to go down and I'm going to be working in Europe and I'm going to be away from my family, why not you move the family to Europe? So I had to. The biggest step on the whole thing was to decide to let it all fall. You know, people think, oh, it all sort of swamped down on me. It was all that. Man, it'd been happening for years, you know. I'd been out there working, you know. I'd sort of somehow managed to completely overfinance myself, just having a good time, not paying attention. It was unfortunate. It happened at a time when interest rates went through the roof. I'd overfinanced, overcapped, you know, all that sort of stuff. And it was just really difficult. And it had been happening for years. And
how did you get it all back together?
And it got, well, it was letting go. Letting go of it was the hardest thing. Like the same thing, like I said, it's getting to the point where you finally make the decision. Once you've made the decision, it was fine. I for years, it was Barrow, that was the first house I bought. I'd never owned a house, you know, with my family. I'd grown up and I bought this house, my kids had grown up, and I thought, you know, this is my family. I thought, like, you know, I'm not going to let this go. You know what? After all that, the minute I let it go, I realized what was important. You know, I had all this shit that I'd been putting myself on the road, working non-stop, you know, being away from my family, killing myself, you know. And the minute I let go of it, it was like, oh, it's not that important. I'm here, I've got my children, I've got my wife. I can sing, I can make millions of dollars if I want, because I'm a good singer.
Yeah, you are.
And I realised that after I let it all go.
When did you meet Deepak Chopra? I've talked to him. He's
nice
an
man.
Interesting fellow.
Yeah, he's a really good man. I met Deepak probably about 4 years ago. My wife had been reading these books for years and kept leaving them around for me. You know, these like heal yourself, you yourself. You know, she'd lived all these books everywhere, and she said, "Oh look," she went to a lecture of Deepak's, and met Leon, who was the promoter, Leon Naxon, and Leon, Jane is like an incredible person, really vibrant, and people really, you know. She's clever, really. She gets on well with people. And she started speaking to Leon. And Leon said, oh, you're great, you should speak to Deepak. She spoke to Deepak at his conference. And Deepak said, oh, your husband, you know, your husband's a singer. You know, she was telling her. He said, come and have breakfast. So I went down and had breakfast with him. And it was at the Park Hyatt, and I was sitting there, and 8 in the morning, and you know, they didn't order any breakfast. You know, I'd been out for a big night. You know, I was sort of hungover, and I was Deepak, you know, Deepak, give me a 6-pack, you know, and I don't know, we just clicked. I really liked him. He's a great thinking man. The best thing I like about Deepak, you know, which I think is such a great quality, is he doesn't judge. You know, I've seen Deepak, you know, and he spoke to me, and he knows I'm a bloody lunatic, and I say to him, like, you know, how do I fix this? And he'll say, well, Jimmy, he'll give me advice from his heart. He doesn't sort of judge, and he doesn't...
No, he doesn't do that.
He doesn't, which is a really, really special thing. And, you know, the man has, you know, has an amazing mind. Is, you know, his whole attraction thing. People think, you know, like I remember when I started, you know, seeing him, a few people saying, "Oh, what's this guru shit?" and all this stuff. You know, listen, you know, G-U-R-U. That's how you spell guru. G, you're just you. You know. So Deepak, for me, I was skeptical at the start, and when I met him, he was such a genuine person, had a lot of warmth, and you know, and I went to lectures, and I remember him. I was asking because he studied with the Maharishi. And I was saying, you know, the Maharishi, because I thought the Maharishi was a bit of a sort of bagman. No, he was a bit of a, you know, because I'd heard stories about him. Sorry, bad joke. I'd heard stories about him being, you know, like, you know, chasing the Beatles chicks around, you know, India.
Well, he probably did. We're going to take a break.
Take a break. I'll be back. Sorry, John.
He will be back. Pretty hard to stop him, but we've managed to stop him for a moment, but we'll start him again, and I hope you can stay with us. Jimmy Barnes will be back. As I'm sure you know, my guest is Jimmy Barnes. No, okay, now back to the... What's his name?
But Deepak. Yeah, but I see. I thought the Maharishi was a bit of a flake and all that, and you know, because I didn't know anything about him, basically. And I said to Deepak, I said, you know, why, if he was that clever and he knew all this, why was he attracted to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones? Why was he, you know, influenced by any of that at all? And Deepak said a great thing. He said that when the Beatles first went to America, and they played on Ed Sullivan, the hour that show went to air, there was like a major drop in violent crime in America. So, in other words, this group of guys had managed to attract so much attention, managed to pull so many people's eyes in one direction, and he wanted to know why.
And he discovered why.
I don't know why. He probably did. You know, but it's a great. That's why. You know, that's why. It's not like, you know, being a band model. That's a really great way of looking at it.
Yeah, terrific.
And that's a fact too. You know, from the FBI records.
But back there a little bit. You talked about.
Sullivan.
Yeah. That's how to fix up massive crime in America. Just keep playing the Beatles.
That's it.
You talked back there a little bit about regrets. The cold chisel period, the 80s, when you go on stage and destroy things. You did that, I think.
Well, we did it on the TV Week Awards, yeah. Most of the time it was just ourselves.
Well, you were already destroyed when you went on the stage.
Not the TV Week one particularly, but you know, some you know, Coaches, it was a volatile band. You know, we were far from angels, but we, you know, I think the reason people liked us is because we were straight up. You know, what you've seen is what you got. We had this chemistry that was very, you know, volatile, that people could watch it, and it was like exciting because it was on the edge all the time, because, you know, we were about to implode. We couldn't get a record deal for the first 5 years because, you know, the record companies thought we'd kill each other, you know, because every time they come and see us, we'd fight and stuff. But, you know, it was one of those violent, it was like passionate, once again, passionate relationships.
But do you regret that?
I regret a lot of things, but I don't regret anything I've done. I regret that I hadn't chosen some other opportunities, you know, some other chances or choices. But I think everything I've done, for one reason or another, even, you know, the worst things I've done, have been for a reason, because of, you know, it's made me feel different or act different. I don't know if it's all going to resolve. I don't know if I'm going to end up being a better person, but, you know, hopefully I'm taking it in.
Has the fact that the children are maturing got something to do with the fact that you might be mellowing? We won't say you are.
No, my daughter's actually, she's away on you know, school leavers weekend up in Noosa and Gold Coast. Ooh. And she rang me the other day, and I said, baby, just be, you know, because children, you can only give them so many tools and say, look, this is it. You make your own decisions. You know, no matter what you say, they'll make their own decisions. So I trust Mary. She's great. You know, and she said, Dad, what am I going to do that's going to sort of, you know, freak you out?
Yeah.
I said, well, believe me, I can think of a couple of things. But she's great. I mean, for instance, Mahalia, 17, within 1 week, she finished her HSC, she got a license, she, what else she did? She cut her hair, she got a tattoo, and joined my band.
Well, she's kind of done it all.
She is. I think she's retiring next week. No, but I mean, she's 17 and she's really focused. I mean, you know, we don't, you know, as parents and stuff, we don't try to be sort of, you know, we're role models as far as we tell them, you know, like how to love, how to be, you know, ethical, how to treat people. But, you know, from the minute you're born, everybody's their own person, you know. All we're here to do is make sure that they're okay and give them some guidelines, you know, give them some advice. You know, you can't change them. If you say don't do it, you know, they'll do it. If you say do it, you know, it's up to them to make their choices. And so hopefully, you know, my kids are going to, you know, they've seen me and go, Christ, I think I'll become a nun, you know.
We also talked to David Campbell on the television.
He's a good fellow, isn't he?
Yeah, good fellow, good fellow. And it's a
and
rather...
it's like Mark 2.1. I think genetics is an amazing thing. He's so much like me, but he's smarter. It's good.
Would you ever make a record with him?
No, of course. No, he's fantastic. I mean, I'd love to, you know, I've written together, you know, with David, and we've sang together. I think David, as much as I'm still sort of finding my feet, I think David has a lot of potential he doesn't realize yet. As a singer, he's got so much control and so much, you know, delicacy in his performance, and he's so controlled. And I think what he has to let his dad out a bit. Because he's also very soulful, and I think if he lets himself get a little bit more out of control, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean to show himself a bit more.
But I'm sure
he's going to become a great singer.
I'm sure, given his heritage, he's got the potential to let himself. Jimmy, terrific to talk to you.
Really great, mate. My pleasure.
Was.
Lovely to see you.
And I've enjoyed it very much. I hope that you've enjoyed it too. We'll come back tomorrow night and hopefully entertain you again. Until tomorrow night, good night, and thank you very much.